What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Gould's Gaming and Tech channel. I can't even put this into words. We're gonna try to put this in words, but I can't put this into words. Basically, how good this Avatar: The Last Airbender Netflix series was. I'm telling you now, before we get further in the video, get your popcorn, get something to drink, get some time on your hands, sit down, because this is probably gonna be a long one. We're doing a series review, season review of this Netflix series. I'm gonna go through some preliminary things first. I'm gonna try not to do too much editing because it's gonna be a long one. Again, disclaimer, it's gonna be a long one. We're gonna talk about the season overall and then the individual episodes and elements, characters, storyline, all that good stuff. Overall, this series was exactly how I expected. And I don't say that as a negative thing because I had very high expectations for this series just based on the trailers, the previous versions of this storyline that we had. I just had expectations that were through the roof, and I say it was what I expected. So if you're new to the channel and you're going to enjoy this content, please, by the end of the video, if you want to wait till the end, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you're new or returning, make sure to hit that like button. It's definitely appreciated. We're going to give our verdict at the end. But overall, we're going to touch on a few things. And I got to figure out where to start. Okay, so it's 8 episodes in this series. On the animated series, it was 20 episodes in season 1. This one is 8. The direction they took it in, I would say it more so mirrored the animation, like true to its cause. It had some areas where it kind of skipped over some things, but we'll get into that later. But for the most part, it pretty much captured everything that season 1 and the animated series was. The story starts and ends where the animated series started and ended. That is a good thing. 8 episodes, they accomplished what they needed to accomplish. I didn't expect Netflix to drop all of these episodes at once. I literally thought it was going to be a new released episode every week. That's what I was prepared for, and I was going to do an episode by episode review by the week. Didn't get that, so I'm doing a big one right here. I'm gonna chop this video up so you can kind of see the individual episode reviews that I have later in the week. But I'm gonna give you the big one and then drop the snippet so you don't have to watch the whole thing if you don't want to. So first things first, the CGI in this, and I will tell you that guys who watch this, guys, girls, whoever who watch this, there's gonna be parts of this series where it's CGI heavy, but the CGI was fantastic. I wanted them to not reduce the effects of certain elements and certain shots due to them trying to shoot everything live action. I wanted more CGI and I wanted it to look cool, not like some crappy CGI. Again, it's Netflix, they have a big budget. I say all that to say the CGI did not disappoint. They put it in the right spots during the series where I wanted to see more of a grand scene when the benders are using their powers and so on and so forth, or just these massive epic scenes that you can't recreate on a set. You have to have some kind of CGI. The CGI is amazing in this. Amazing. It looked great, flawless. It didn't look too kiddish. It didn't look fake. It didn't look phony. It didn't look goofy. The CGI was amazing. Now the next thing, the story and the direction that they took this series in was great. It stayed true to the source. Now they did take some artistic liberties here and there, but they didn't change the story too much. They kind of blended. So it's kind of hard to explain without you guys seeing it. But say during the animated series, obviously it has 20 episodes. This Netflix series is condensed in 8. Some of the episodes during the animated series, they were, as you would say, filler episodes. Netflix did a great job of blending the important parts of those filler episodes into the main stories in these 8 episodes. The story is pretty much true to the animated series, again with some artistic liberties here and there, but those artistic liberties did not take away from the main mission, which was recapture the magic that was in the animated series. So the storyline was pretty good. Obviously, Avatar has a storyline already, so they stayed to it. So that's what I appreciate. But again, the artistic liberties they took, the outfits, the wardrobe, everything stayed the same pretty much. It's just they did some blending on some scenes, and they did change how some things kind of played out. So for example, one situation with like King Boomy and Aang, how he's testing Aang, the way they captured it on here is different than how it played out on the animated series, but it still accomplished the end goal of what that scene was in the animated series, if that makes any sense. So that's what I mean by them it blending and them taking some artistic liberties. The voices, I have some gripes with Katara's voice and Iroh's voice, Uncle Iroh's voice. Everybody else voice fit just fine to me, but Katara and Uncle Iroh, it wasn't bad. It just didn't nail it for me. Like I don't know if you guys know, but in the animated series, Uncle Iroh has a little bit of a raspiness to his voice, and this actor, he's a good actor. He played the role well. It's just it didn't seem like he tried to kind of mimic Uncle Iroh's voice in animated series. Granted, he's not that actor, so he's not going to get it exactly right. But he didn't even try. It didn't seem like he even tried to mimic his voice at all. But again, that's just my gripe because I'm a big fan of the series. That's like small nitpicky stuff. But overall, he did a good job. But anyways, Katara, again, her voice was pretty good, but this is the thing. Obviously, you know, with an animated series and them trying to recreate it in a live action animated movie or series, there's going to be certain things you cannot capture that humans can't do, that you can draw up on a sheet and animate in a computer to over exaggerate a certain scene, certain movements and things like that. You can't recreate that in live action, but what you can attempt to do is have the expressions the same. So the fluctuation in the voice and how that character or actor kind of puts emotion behind those lines. You can try to recreate that because, again, it's just a voice. It's just tones, dialect, things like that, accents. You can try to recreate that. Katara is certain moments where Katara's voice in the animated series is a little bit more aggressive. She sounds a little bit more grown, stern, some pitches, highs and lows that I feel like this actor didn't necessarily master. Not to say she did a bad job, but she didn't master it in the sense of capturing those highs and lows and things like that. She didn't sound monotone, but overall her voice was kind of soft throughout the entire series. And that is Katara's voice. She's a very calm, soothing, empathetic kind of person, but she does have moments when she gets aggressive, gets mad, and things like that. But it seems like this actor kind of had like a soft voice throughout the entire thing, which, again, it's not bad. She's a girl, but Katara in the series, she had a little bit more fluctuation. I thought Zuko's voice was great, how he kind of depicted Zuko. King Boomy, Aang. Again, Aang did a phenomenal job. There was some moments where he could have fluctuated his voice a little bit more to sound more like the traditional Aang, or just to express an emotion a little bit better on camera. But overall, he did fantastic. Again, like I said, the wardrobe department was spot on. I believed it. I believed it when I saw everyone in their outfits. It looked true to the animated series. Aang, for one, almost identical in the animated series. I thought, and this is just me, the Kyoshi Warriors had the best wardrobe. Like, if I were to put the animated Kyoshi Warrior look next to this live action reiteration of it, it would look all identical. I would say the Kyoshi Warriors makeup department killed it bad. Is there going to be a season 2? From the looks of this and how it ended, there is going to be a season 2. They kind of alluded to there's going to be more things next. At the end of the series, they kind of talked about some things that alluded to them possibly playing with the idea. I'm sure this is going to receive overwhelming support, and the numbers should support them doing a season 2. I hope that's the case, because this is what we wanted originally when we heard the thought of a live action Avatar: The Last Airbender. So season 2, I hope that happens. So guys, please support this. Please, please, please. Last thing I want to touch on before I get to the verdict, and then we're going to get to episode by episode and more other things, is the characters. Aang, spot on. Perfect casting for him. I love the how they did this iteration of the tattoo on his head and body and everything throughout. Again, the tones and stuff and the voice, it could have been a slightly bit better, but he did capture that kid element of the animated Aang, which I love. Princess Azula. Maybe this is just me, but in the animated series, Azula is very stern, very hard, more like has a crazy look to herself, and she has that cynical kind of voice and tones, and her face is very sharp. The actor they cast to play Azula, I can't help but to look at her and think like she has a very like kid face, in the sense of like her face is more round. It's more like chubby cheeks, like rounder cheeks. She looked more like a kid. I couldn't help but to look at her and be like, oh. But when you think about the character of Azula, that's not what you get from her at all. You thinking, this chick crazy. I didn't get that from this girl. Great, her acting did well with the aggressive like scenes of Azula and fighting and all that stuff, but just the image of her, to me, it wasn't executed as well as I wanted. It would have been nice to see a little bit recasted in that department, because her face just didn't capture Azula's craziness face. And maybe that's kudos to that actor, because she has a very adorable face, but for Azula, she's not adorable. She's wacky. Sokka, oh my gosh, he's one of the, if not the most spot on character. This actor who played Sokka, his voice was on point, his look was on point. The writers did a great job of writing in Sokka's wit and having him execute it the way it is in the animated series. His character, spot on. When I first saw him in the first 2 episodes, I thought, oh, he's perfect. But believe it or not, later in the series, it got even better with his acting of portraying Sokka. And one thing I will say, this dude kissing all the girls in the series, Aang don't get no love. Granted, I get it. Aang's love story and stuff doesn't happen until later, really. But this guy's kissing all the girls. He's getting all the girls. Like, he's the man. I know he read the script. He's like, dang, I get like 3 kisses during this series. I love it. But yes, he was absolutely on point. Zuko, that actor, he played him just fine. The scar looked fine. The intenseness, the eagerness, the emotion in the face of how he wanted to make his father proud, reclaim his glory or his pride, I guess, to get back to the Fire Nation and his honor. He did a good job of, stressing the issue. I need to get this freaking Avatar. Again, his voice acting, his combat, everything looked very believable. Let's see, Katara. This girl, she looked like Katara more so with the 2 single braids on the side and then the hair back. But when her hair came down, like later in the series, or in the season, she didn't really look too much like Katara during those scenes. But for the most part, she captured Katara. Again, the voice acting, or the voice of her, and how she kind of put emotion behind certain lines, I thought could have been executed a little bit better. If she did that, I think her character would have been a little bit more believable as Katara. She definitely captured the sympathetic, empathetic, caring, loving, calm, warm essence of Katara. But again, like I said, Katara does have moments where she gets aggressive and kind of changes the tone in her voice. So that's all with that. The Fire Lord, absolutely on point. Couldn't pick a better actor for him. The whole look, top to bottom, the voice, the dialect, everything, absolutely on point. King Boomy. I was kind of worried about King Boomy and how they would kind of capture his kind of voice. If you've seen the series, you kind of know what I mean. And the crazy laugh, all of that. I was kind of worried, but this actor played him perfectly. He had the crazy cracked smile, the laugh, the little weird look, the crazy like bewildered, befuddled look. He had that on point, which I really appreciated. If you're gonna show some scenes with King Boomy, and have him in there, you need to have someone who can pull off the goofy, wacky craziness of King Boomy. Perfect. I loved his part. Uncle Iroh, like I said, he has traditionally a raspy tone to his voice in the series. Like in the series, he more so would sound like Prince Zuko. That's how he would sound. And he would also go up and down his tones, and like when he's talking about like Paisho or like whatever he's talking about, or when he says the Fire Lord, he would sound kind of like that. It's more like an Asian tone, and not try to typecast anyone, but he didn't have any raspiness to his voice. It was very like straight throughout. It didn't seem like the intensity changed and the raspiness didn't play a part. The look of him, he looked pretty identical to him, but the voice, like every time I saw his character, I would associate his voice from the animated series in my head, but when I wasn't hearing that or seeing that in person, it kind of threw me off. But again, the actor who played him did a good job of kind of taking on that fatherly role to Zuko. And then, like I said, we already spoke on Azula. And Azula's friends, the last characters I want to touch on, is Azula's friends. The more like emo monotone girl, she did excellent. Like she really captured the, yeah, I don't really care. She captured that bored, monotone, emo, I'm dark kind of sound. The other one, the more acrobatic character, which is Azula's friend who wears the pink all the time. She's very like bright-eyed, fluffy, happy, sparkly, kind of, I wouldn't say goofy, but just very bright-eyed, green to everything, sees the best in the world. We didn't really get too much lines from her during the series, so I can't really comment on her. So it'll be an unfair evaluation of her role, because she literally had a couple sentences to say during the series, so can't really comment on her. But anyways, overall, what I would give this series, and then we're gonna get into the spoilers. Out of 10, I would give this series, based on everything we just talked about, CGI, the characters, the story, the artistic liberties they decided to take, the voices, the wardrobe, I would give this, and you can't help but to compare it to the animated series. Would I want any other improvements in a live action from the animated series? Based on that, I would give this series a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. I think that is very good. Again, if the voices and the tones in the voices were as I was describing them earlier, this probably would be a 10 out of 10. But I would say they still did a good job. So 9 out of 10, that's what I'm giving this series. This is excellent. I love it. Couldn't ask for anything better. I love this thing. So I highly recommend you guys check this out on Netflix. If you have not, if you need a refresher, please watch the animated series so you can get a refresher on kind of what's going on if you're new to it. And I also think the directors did a good job of, if you didn't watch the animated series, putting what's important from the animated series in those 20 episodes into these 8 episodes. So if you watch these first 8 episodes in season 1 and you don't see the animated series, you're pretty much caught up. So if you look at the animated series, you see 20 episodes, you watch them, you're going to get the main concept of what's going on with the Avatar story. So I thought that was masterful on the director's part to make sure the main parts of the story got depicted within 8 episodes. So thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to move into the spoiler department and we're going to break down each episode and review each episode. So if you want to stay tuned for that, make sure to stay tuned. Again, I'm going to chop these videos up so you guys can kind of pick and choose what you want to watch. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.